want to get to the UAW strike and the impact you think that's going to have on the economy. And more important about this is the fact that it's almost like the union is delusional. Look, nobody's a bigger union guy than me. Everybody knows that. But you can't get blood out of a stone. So car companies or car manufacturers are losing money because of Biden administration's electric vehicle mandate. Nobody wants to buy these. They're sitting in lots. They're costing car companies a ton of profit. And now the auto workers want a 40% increase in pay and a 32-hour work week, saying they want economic justice when the Biden administration is forcing car companies to lose money. How does this math work, Michael Faulkender?
It seems to me that what the union leadership is doing is wanting a strike to bring some visibility to this issue, because the math, if you just think that it's between the car companies and the union, the math you've done is absolutely correct. Ford has come out and said that it's losing about $60,000 per electric vehicle that it sells. And yet the Biden administration and folks like Governor Newsom out in California are saying we want only EVs within about the next 10 years. So let's increase dramatically the number of vehicles on which auto companies are losing money and then think that they're going to be able to pay employees substantially larger wages. And so we at America First Policy Institute have done some work on this. We estimate that Biden's shift to electric vehicles will cost about 120,000 union jobs. And I really think that's what this strike is about. So I don't think it's per se between the auto companies and the union. I think it's meant to bring the Biden administration into this, because what the union leadership fears more than not getting enough of a pay raise is these massive loss of workers. And that's what a shift to electric vehicles means. And that's not something you can negotiate with the car companies. That's something you've got to bring the president in on. And I'm wondering if that's the ultimate aim of this strike, is to draw attention to it.
Well, listen, the Biden administration is putting the auto industry out of business. Simple as that. The
Correct.
Other thing that people don't realize is it takes Michael 40% less labor to make an electric vehicle than it does a combustible engine car. So that means instead of 10 workers to make the car, now you only need 6. So they're cutting jobs just by virtue of the mandate. But the bottom line here is nobody wants these. They're not buying them. If they were buying them and there was a consumer demand, the economics would change because they'd be able to sell them at a profit. They can't sell them because nobody wants to buy them. I mean, this is
exactly
incredible
right. Yes.
to me. This is communism at work, right? Go ahead.
It very much is communism at work, because what it's saying, we're not opposed to new technologies displacing old technologies if they make people's lives better, right? We drive cars. We're not in horse and buggy carriers anymore. And so if jobs switch to things away from things people don't want to what people do want, then that's innovation at work. That's, what in economics terms we call creative destruction. That is not what is going on here. This is government imposed outcomes that people don't want. The reason that car companies are losing so much money on these things, as you say, is because people don't want to pay what it costs to drive one of these things. They don't get sufficient mileage. You can't drive far enough. They're not going to get you sufficient distance. People are very much worried because they're seeing their friends run out of energy mid-drive. The mandates that they're talking about for truckers would cause truck drivers with electric vehicles to have to wait literally hours at charging stations to refuel their trucks, rather than the 10 or 15 minutes it currently takes to fill a tank of gas. And so the technology is not there. Plus, these things are nowhere near as environmentally friendly as the Biden administration would have you believe. And then further, we're enormously reliant on China for many of the critical minerals that go into the manufacture of these things. So electric vehicles are not really all that great for the environment. They make us more dependent on China, so they damage our national security. And They're cars that Americans don't want that put American workers out of work. So all around, this is foolish policy that seems intent on just making a few people in the EV sector wealthy. And you got to wonder, is that because this is who Biden really serves? Because it's, like I said, it's not for workers, it's not for the environment, it's not for national security, and it's not for the American people. So what is the objective here if we're doing it? Why are we running massive budget deficits? We're going to run a $2 trillion budget deficit this year, borrowing from abroad to cover that so that we can buy critical minerals made in China, impose them on the American people. This just, and because remember, part of the reason we're running a budget deficit is because the Inflation Creation Act, as I like to call it, it has massive amounts of EV subsidies in there, irrespective of where you make these. Joe Manchin can go out and say all he wants, that he insisted on there being sourcing requirements, that a sufficient amount of the vehicle be made in the United States. And the Biden administration just completely ignored that in the implementation of the rules. They are so committed to EVs. I don't understand why, but these are enormously damaging. And that's, I think, what this auto strike is about. It is about the UAW trying to save jobs in the Midwest associated with car manufacturers, auto workers at these factories, as well as the auto parts makers, that all of whom would lose their jobs if the Biden administration does not change course on this. And their fight is not with the auto companies, it is with this administration.